Kamen Rider Gates episode 25. This episode saw the beginning of the Jamato Grand Prix, where the Jamato are the main heroes in the story now, and our riders are now the villains. So this is an interesting turn of events that we saw debut last week, where the Jamato are starting their own Desire Grand Prix, and they have their own ways of playing the game and their own goals. And their goal is to sort of get the belt of the main producer, so that way they can sort of reshape the world to their liking. But how the Jamato are going to do that? Well, they're going to wreck up the place, and seeing what their main goal is, how they get points for destruction, it's basically like a game of GTA Online. The more people you mess with, the more destruction you cause, is the more points you'll get. So this episode had some interesting back and forth, some really interesting character interactions as well between everyone. One of them was seeing the return of Buffer's dead friend in the form of a gift from Bibara, or Bibara, however you pronounce her name. And it's interesting to see this character come back again, because it's the Jamato taking his form, and they do sort of fake you out where he walks into the room and he sort of says, hey, it's cool to be back again, and then you have the reveal that it's Jamato, and then Daichi sort of makes his comment saying, oh, the Jamato are learning, they're getting smarter and smarter, something we've known about forever. But he does say that they can mimic someone's memories as well, and that's something we see in the episode later down the line, where Buffer's dead friend, I'm probably just going to call him that in the review, Buffer's dead friend says, hey, remember that street fight we got into, and that's how we got our jobs? And we sort of see this flashback of them getting into a street brawl, and how his friend had the scar on his finger. So it's fascinating what the Jamato can sort of replicate with all these memories of the deceased players, and especially having the detail down to that, like having a scar on their hand and the memories on how they got it. So yeah, the Jamato are evolving. So, in this episode, we also got to see the opening change up a little bit. That opening scene where they sort of have the Desire Grand Prix characters doing their poses, it's replaced with the Jamato Grand Prix people, that being Buffer and Daichi, and then you sort of have the Jamato Rooks and Pawns in there, and then you sort of see our Desire Grand Prix people in there, and they sort of get their own little new slides in there where they make new faces with their supporters and stuff like that, which is really cool to see. But it sort of paints them as the villain, or the villains, with the coloring and stuff they choose in their little CGI backgrounds. But I think they should have gone one step beyond and replaced Geats in the opening with Buffer. That would have been really cool to see, and sort of have that be like sort of like the fake out opening through this story arc, because we're in a brand new story arc as well, which you'll probably see with the episode title. Now, after the opening, we get something different, and that is people setting up a festival. And we learned some really interesting bit of information about the festival, and that is, if you can take the bells from an Oni, you will get your wish granted, which is kind of mirroring what we saw at which we saw at the start of the episode, where the Jamato were given sort of bells and chains that were sort of attached to it. So that's sort of the image you get when they show up to wreck up the place, and one of the kids thinks that it's one of the Onis, but it's actually the Jamato. So our heroes rush in to save the day, and they soon get their shit wrecked, because Buffer reveals to them, and I gotta say, Buffer's in a brand new look. He's sort of wearing this leather jacket, he's got his hair tied up, it looks like he's got blonde streaks in the side, so he's got a whole new look going on as he's becoming half Jamato, or becoming full Jamato, but he's half Jamato right now. But Buffer remarks saying, hey, what are you guys doing here? You're the villains. We get points if we kill you or attack you. And we see our heroes get the shit kicked out of them before the round ends. And after that, we get a really interesting scene where our heroes are talking to the supporters, and they're kind of enamored by the festival going on, and why they feel distressed and stuff like that by it being ruined. And one of the things that Jin brings up when he talks to Ace is saying, hey, it's crazy that you guys have these festivals and can feel sad for them when they're ruined, because in the future, everything is kind of granted to us and handed to us on a silver platter. And that's what I got, saying like all their desires, all their wishes, all their families just sort of happens where they sort of just get it. while in the future, like you can, well not in the future, in the past, you can experience loss and sadness and stuff like that, and losing someone important or something like that. So that's an interesting bit of information. We then get a scene where the producers and Timefire are talking about the situation going on, saying that the existence of Jamato to the public is growing by the day, and 10% of it has increased, and saying 1 in 10 people now know about it. And Time Red, or Timefire Daddy, says, hey, this is going to keep getting worse and worse, and soon it's going to become a widespread problem, and I'm not going to have enough power to do anything. I won't be able to silence the police or the government, and it's going to become a problem. So we asked the producer saying, hey, what are we going to do about this if we can't get people to keep quiet about it? And the producer's like, well, we'll just have to reset the world again. And Timefire's like, hey, Neon's wish hasn't been granted yet. We have to grant Neon's wish, because he wants her to win. He wants her to sort of win around. Makes sense. He's her sponsor. But the producer sort of claps back by saying, hey, why don't you actually show love to your daughter? And this angers the dude, and the producer just says, hey, sit down, have faith in our writers, including Neon. Before round 2 begins, I talked about the Buffer and Bestie backstory, where we see how he has the scar on his face when they got into a street fight, and I gotta say, that was a cool street fight, because it was 2 of them versus 5 other people, and they managed to kick some ass. But after that, round 2 begins, and a Jamato starts laying down a sick drum beat, and again starts wrecking up the place as he lays down that sick beat. And this is where we finally get to see Buffer in the command form, or the command jet form, and I gotta say, he rocks it pretty well. But what's interesting is Buffer calls the command buckle a new item when it's been around for 10 plus episodes, and I don't know if I'm wrong here, but wasn't Buffer there when sort of Gates used it to solo Orvo's Jamato in that one episode when he used it? I think Buffer was present, but I don't know where he was standing to sort of see the form when it was going down. Now, he could have called it as a new item, as in a new item that he got because he sort of got the bonus item, but it's just interesting how he phrased it like that. But we have sort of the 2v2 fight between Jin and Gates versus Buffer and his bestie, and it looks like Buffer is sort of running circles around everyone with the jet form, and it ends on a cliffhanger with Gates about to get attacked by Buffer, and his days are numbered. But it doesn't seem like it, because if you watch the episode preview and you keep up with the scans, he's getting a power-up next week, which I am curious to see how he's going to get this one, how he's going to get the Boost Mark II, and how it's going to come into play story-wise. So, it looks like Gates is going to get into a tough situation, and overall, we'll see how he gets this new power-up. But episode 25 of Kamen Rider Gates, I thought it was okay. I mean, we had some interesting character interactions between the sponsors and our riders. We have the Jamato Grand Prix, where they're sort of like the heroes in this situation, and the game has literally changed with sort of them hijacking the Desire Grand Prix, with their rules taking over now, and they've got to stop all this destruction because, like I said, the Jamato get points for like all the destruction they cause, and we kind of see what Jamato have entered the game. I believe if you go to the wiki, because it was written on English with their little scoreboard with which ones are entering, you can sort of see which ones are playing, and it's like the Rook, the Knight, the Bishop, and I believe one of them is the girl with the hat. She's one of them. I think she might be like the bishop or something. I'm not sure, but I think she's sort of like the race of Jamato that is entering the game. But yeah, this is like an interesting like thing that they're doing, the flipping on their feet, especially having sort of Buffer's friend enter like as a Jamato to see sort of the Jamato evolve and learn. And not only that, Buffer has Korn completely heal because he does get asked saying, hey, why are you doing this? You used to be on our side. And Gates is like, his goal was to destroy all riders. This is what he wants, so this is what he's doing. So I like that acknowledgement. But episode 25, I really enjoyed. I got a kick out of it. I'm curious to see where it's going to go moving forward with this Jamato Prix and how long the story arc is going to last. Are they able to like fix it to the normal Desire Grand Prix? Because I thought with everything going on, the game would get sort of like get halted, and it would sort of get bled into the real world where they've got to stop all the Jamato and stuff like that. But Doesn't seem like it so far, but this episode I really enjoyed, got a kick out of it, and I can't wait to see where it's going to go next. Anyway guys, what did you think of episode 25 of Kamen Rider Gates? Love it? Hate it? Tell me in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. With that said, I think I'm going to bring this video to a close. If you enjoyed this review, recap, discussion, whatever you want to call it, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out, take care, bye.